Welcome to the Rural Way Podcast, practical business and leadership conversations for small town living. I'm your host, Tracy Schira-Parker, and this is where we get to dig into working hard, showing up, and chasing big dreams from farmyards and small towns. So if you're building a business and a life where the pace is slower, you already know things are different. We don't have the same resources, margins, or risks, and this podcast is where we close that gap. We talk strategy that works, living a lifestyle we love, and staying true to our roots. So if you're ready, let's get at it. Welcome to the Rural Way Podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Schira-Parker, and today is the second episode in the seeding series. And I don't have a title for it officially, but it was really like, what's on your mind? What are you thinking about, and how are you taking care of yourself in the busy season? Because this is an important aspect that farmers have generally ignored. And I feel like it's something that could really be a game changer in your ability to stay strong and healthy, especially mentally well during the seeding season and throughout the year. So seeding is that time of year where it is exciting because it's next year country. We all farm for next year country. And so when harvest is done, we're like, maybe next year. And so seeding is always this time where we're planting the seed and it's full of pure potential. But it also comes at a time where people are on the tractor a lot. They have a lot of time to think. Any shortcomings from the previous year are really showing up right now because do you have your input credits properly or properly set up? Is there going to be a shortfall because you didn't pay everything off last year? Is there something in the field that wasn't done? Was there any harvest not done or any field work not done? It's kind of like that time where we forgot about it during the winter, but seeding comes along and there's a lot of pressure because if you don't get your seed in well, and if you don't do a really good job of that, the rest of the crop is shit. So the rest doesn't matter if you don't do this well. But seeding is this time where people think about all of the things that could go wrong. It's a high risk business, and I don't have to tell you that. And it's also this time where you are pumping hundreds of thousands and probably millions of dollars into the ground. And you are thinking, what if? What if we get hail? What if there's drought? What if, the markets crash? What if my tractor, if you've been having some equipment issues, what if I need a big repair? Like all these things. And so farmers are spending crazy amounts of hours in the tractor right now. And that can be a blessing and a curse. It can be peaceful. It can be that time where you get caught up on your TikTok because you have GPS. We all know that the farmers are big TikTokers because they don't need to, until their monitors are all screaming at them. But I know that there's a lot of time to spend, and sometimes it's hard. In my role as a consultant and a mediator, I come across a lot of farmers whose spring really triggers a lot of unwellness, and the stress and the pressure it really feels like the weight of the world is on their shoulders. And so in this episode, I really want to talk about some of those aspects of what you need to do to take care of yourself. Because what are you doing this for if you end up on the other side of this unwell? And if this has been sent to you from somebody that loves you, whether it's a wife, a mom, a sister, a friend, I want you to lean in here a little bit. And I want you to know that they sent this to you because they love you. Chances are they're a little bit worried about you. And they want to make sure you're okay. Because they see the mental load that you're carrying. They see the weight. They see the distance. They see the exhaustion. And they're worried about you. So if this is for you, I just want to have a conversation about some things that can do to help move the needle. But this isn't about fixing everything. This is about making it just a little bit better every single day, because you will get to the other side of this. I promise you that. So the first aspect of this episode I want to shine a light on is the what if scenarios, the numbers, the expenses. It's easy to get caught up in all the money that's going out. Now, if you're a pen and paper kind of guy, or you are, you use notes on your phone, just write it down. Because if you're relying on your mental acuity to remember everything, it's going to get heavy. You're going to forget something, and then you're going to beat yourself up for it. So have a notebook, have a little, whatever it takes, and just write your stuff down. When fuel was delivered and how much you spent on different inputs, or when things were delivered. It will help you put it down on paper, and then your brain can relax. The other is by writing it down, and if you need to figure out how much you're spending per acre per day and all those calculations, once you have it on paper, there's something that happens to your subconscious that allows it to relax, because in the meantime, you're worried about everything. So take some time and just write it down. Even if it doesn't seem significant, if you've thought about it a number of times throughout the day, you need to write it down. Just get it off your mind. The subconscious will say, oh, I've already written that down. It's taken care of. The other is to know your numbers. If you have payables that are outstanding, if you have loan payments that are coming up, and all you're doing is thinking about all the things that you have to pay and all the things you have to do, you need to write it down, and you need to get clear about what exactly is coming up and what exactly do we need. Because when the brain is thinking about the same thing over and over, it compounds it. And it just keeps adding and adding and adding, even if it's the same thing that you've thought about the last hour and the hour before that and the hour before that. So by the end of a 12-hour day in the tractor, you've thought about something that is hard and stressful 12 times at least. So write it down and know exactly what your numbers are. What exactly are your payables? What exactly do you need to sell? What exactly are the conversations you need to have? And then let it go. The next component to this is to really pay attention as to what your mental load is. I don't think that farmers typically understand that there is a mental load that takes place, and they don't actually acknowledge it. They don't acknowledge that there are all these decisions that need to be made. And farming has changed. Farming is not what it was 20 years ago. The decisions you have to make, the expenses you have to manage and navigate, the pressure that you have is different. I'm not saying it's more, it's just different. You have your phone in your hand, you've got texts coming in, you've got people calling. Back in the day, I feel old saying this, guys got to be in the tractor and they didn't have their phone with them. Nobody could get a hold of them. Nobody could text them. Nobody could call them. They got to just be in the tractor. And now most of you guys are taking 10, 20 calls a day. And you're consuming all of this information, and you're very accessible by everybody, which is great. But at some point, you have to acknowledge that this also carries a mental load. If you are behind on any of your payments or any of the input credits from last year, there's going to be this stress. Make sure that you are at least acknowledging it with a business partner or your spouse or somebody. Talk it out. What is the mental load you're carrying? And pay attention to all the things that you have no control over that you're perhaps obsessing about or thinking about too much. Because one of the interesting things when I'm working with a lot of my farmers is that I'll say, let's do some projections. Like, we need to figure out what your projected revenue will be over the next year. And farmers, I tell you, you are the most impossible to do projections with, because all you say is, it depends. It depends. Well, that type of uncertainty and that type of lack of clarity makes your brain feel like everything is uncertain. And the lack of certainty creates stress, it creates a mental load, and it is not good for you. So you can say, for the last 10 years, this has been my average. Or you can say the last 5 years, this is about where we were, and do a worst case scenario, a best case scenario, and an average. But having the excuse that you can't do projections because it depends doesn't work. And I would call every single farmer that tries to say, I can't do projections because it depends. I'd call you out all day long, because having that clarity on paper creates clarity in your mind and creates confidence in your decisions. And when you have confidence in your decisions, it relieves that mental load. It relieves the mental stress and the uncertainty. Your body, your brain, and your business needs certainty. The next one is something that drives me crazy too. Men and farmers do not know how to take care of their health, especially in seeding and harvest and in busy seasons. So, are you eating well? Or do you get your wife to pack a bunch of cookies and sweets and all kinds of crap so that you can eat in the tractor all the sugar and then wonder why your blood sugar and your brain and your whole body's not working well? Now, my husband doesn't have to worry about that because I don't bake, but he does get Costco baking. But, um, but are you eating well? Are you fueling your body? How do you expect your brain and your body to actually function if you have fueled it with crap? And are you drinking water? Are you drinking pot? Are you drinking whiskey all day? No, I'm just kidding. It used to be back in the day, I think guys got away with that, but you can't do that now. But being dehydrated, you will not have the energy and the mental clarity. Mistakes and accidents happen when you are too exhausted, when you have not fueled your body, and when you have not actually even drank any water. How do you expect your brain to work? How do you expect to make decisions on the fly or in high, uh, emergency type situations where something happens and a piece of equipment breaks and you're having to go out and try to fix it? You need to have that mental clarity. So I know that you're probably going to dismiss it and you're probably not going to heed my warnings, but honestly, take care of your health, because the exhaustion and the amount of pressure that you're carrying while you're doing the seeding season is huge. And you need to acknowledge it and take care of it accordingly so that you can stay healthy. And I'm going to go on a bit of a soapbox here. This was not planned. This just came to me. But there's the saying that somebody who is healthy has 1,000 dreams, and somebody who is unwell has one, and it's to have their health. So if you neglect your body, it is your business. Your business relies on you, because without you, your business doesn't run. So take care of yourself and take some time to pay attention, plan ahead. I mean, right now you're in the middle of seeding, or probably some of you are already getting to the other end of it. But before you go into your next busy season, actually take some time and be like, what do I need to do each morning and evening in order to be healthy? If you're coming in with a sore back, every day you come in and your back is killing you, are you actually coming in and spending some time and putting ice in your back and doing some stretches and making sure that you've drank enough water? Probably not. Are you coming in? Well, and let's back up to that. If you're coming in with a sore back, have you been able to um, make the best decisions that day? Have you done things in the safest way? Probably not, because your back is sore. And so you're not doing things like you would if you felt strong and healthy. So what does your morning routine look like? When you first start your day, before you get in that tractor, what are you doing to make sure that you've set your day up for success? And same with when you come in at night. You're exhausted. You put in a long day. What are you doing to unwind, and watching Sports Center and the hockey highlights, that's what happens at home. Is it may or may not be the answer for you. Maybe it is. But you need to make sure that if your body is screaming at you for some attention so that you can actually get in the tractor the next day and do your job and run your business effectively, do what it takes. But setting up that morning and evening routine ahead of time is really critical. And share that with your family, saying, like, this is what I'm going to be doing. Like, hold me accountable. I'm going to be tired when I get home, or whatever it is. But help set yourself up for some success that way. The next one is your inner dialogue. What is your inner dialogue, and are you having the repetition of some unhelpful thoughts that are taking you and making you spiral? Um, I've worked with farmers a long time, and I know that mental unwellness is dominant in your industry. And I know that many of you get off the tractor at the end of seeding, and you are wound right up. Your shoulders around your ears, or you're numbing out with whatever it takes at night to decompress from the day. And you've just put a shit ton of money in the ground with the hope and a prayer and a promise that it's going to grow and you're going to be able to pay it all back and hopefully make some money and hopefully make your payments. I get it. There is a lot of pressure, but suffering in silence and going into that spiral, it's not going to make one bit of difference. It doesn't change an outcome. So be honest with yourself. What is making you spiral? What is a dominant thought that is not helpful? And what are you going to do if things just get out of hand? Like, what's your plan? If you get to a point, and now this is not a time to be macho and strong and, oh, nobody wants to see a man struggle narrative. This is not a time for that. We see farmers every single year lose their life because of what happened between their ears and the way they saw their business, their successes, their failures, their money, their decisions, the weight. And we need you. We need you to stay healthy. And what is it going to take? And so what I have found is that often I'll sit with farmers who, especially in the mediation process, things have not been easy for a while. And we'll start talking, and I can tell that I'm the first person they've actually verbally expressed something to. And there is no place for shame. There is no place for judgment. There is just place for honest expression. And when somebody is able to finally talk about it, because they can't talk about it with their friends. Most often they can't talk about it with their family. I've talked about this before with farmers. Is often I'll say, what does the conversation with your dad look like? And that is the one question that always brings so many farmers to an emotional space that they have not felt in a long time, because they're holding their breath on life. They're holding their breath on their business, and they don't want to face the hardness of the decision and the reality of it all. But once they express it and once they share it, their shoulders drop and you can feel their chest just relax a little bit because they've been holding it all in for so long. So if you have been holding it in and you need somebody to talk to and you feel like you have nobody in your space, there is the farm line that you can call. There are agriculture experts that are coaches like myself. I became a certified resilience coach just so I could help my farmers. I became a certified coach, a leadership coach, just so I could help my farmers. because I wanted to make sure that I was asking them the right questions and I was walking them through the process with the right skills and the right ability to get to the other side. Because I was facing, the numbers were the easy part. The numbers they have no emotion attached. They are what they are. And we can navigate the facts with the numbers. But it was those raw moments when I just needed to be able to walk my farmers through that hard conversation that needed to be had. And so if you are needing someone to talk to, reach out to somebody, because it could make all the difference. And it might make the load, physical, mental, spiritual, less heavy. I guess that's all I had to say about this one. Um, I once had a client that I phoned another consultant that had worked with this client, and I said, so like, what's this client like, and what's the situation? And he said, when are you heading out there? And I said, tomorrow morning. And he said, well, things are pretty dark. Things are pretty grim for him right now, and he's having a lot of challenges. And so, just to give you the heads up, is that when you get there tomorrow, he may or may not be still alive. And I remember praying all the way out there thinking, God, just have him be alive. We can get him through this. And he was alive. And we had a long conversation about the business and the money and the relationships and the conversations that need to be had. And everything was okay. It wasn't like he wanted, but it was okay. So I guess what my ask is of you, especially if you got this sent to you, is that you aren't alone. Your situation isn't the worst we've ever heard. You are navigating a very hard business. Even if the people behind you and, generations before you did it, they didn't do it in this environment, and they didn't do it in this financial lens. It's just different. They didn't have the same kind of pressures and stress, and they didn't have to have all these moving parts and pieces. So it's okay if it's been different, and it's okay if it's been hard. And if I could give you any piece of advice, is reach out sooner than later, have somebody to talk to sooner than later. And even if you don't have dark thoughts, just having somebody to coach you through decisions, like if you're paralyzed by a decision or you're not sure what to do next, there's coaches out there like myself that help farmers through it. And that's what we do. And a neutral third party has so much value because we don't have an emotional attachment to the decision or the outcome. And so it just gives this real raw perspective. And that's why I always have a coach, or I try to always have a coach, because it's life-changing for me and for most people. So that's it. I don't want to, I feel like when I'm looking through this camera, I feel like there's going to be at least one person that thinks that I know their story, and I don't. But I do. And I want you to know that you matter and that you don't have to carry the weight of the world on your own. And I always, when I get into situations with clients, often I think, where were you 2 years ago? If you'd have just called me 2 years ago. So get in front of it and be healthy, be strong, enjoy your business. The world needs you because you are feeding the world. So that's it. We'll see you in the next episode.